I can to like justify that I have some sort of power.
Wait, but I thought she doesn't have power.
Yeah, but she wants to have powers.
Well, and I was
It's
watching
like,
this TikTok that
and
was
I was like, I
oh,
don't
where
know.
have we seen this
It's not
before
good.
where you've got a family that has magical powers and the one doesn't?
The monsters?
The monsters, Frozen, there's probably a whole bunch of others as well.
There we go. We're live.
Oh,
Hey!
Those are cute.
Day-o.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Day
Yeah.
comes
So that's what it
and
looks
I
like.
wanna
Go home. Hey-o. Hey-o. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Yeah, the things
Daylight come
popped up
and
as
me
the
want to
ones
go home.
I do not have the lyrics for this memorized.
Yeah, I always get them out of order.
Okay.
6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and me want to go home. Day is a day, is a day, is a day.
This is a great start to the live stream.
Daylight
Yeah.
come and me want to go home.
Alright, let's get started.
I'm gonna take this off. It's
Wait,
hot in
do
here.
you
But
Do we want to wait for people to show up first before we just go?
I'm right now pulling it up on my phone.
On me phone.
On my phone, because I want to make sure that we're actually getting audio.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
It's always a good idea.
Make sure it's
So it's going to get a little bit.
Quiet, Babish.
Babish, please.
Babish, please, not now.
Wait, is that the YouTuber that makes foods? Did you know he has a cookbook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's
that's
awesome.
cool.
Catherine and Willard have it. That's how.
Have you ever? Do you ever watch Joshua Weissman?
Is he the Australian one?
No.
No, wait. Is he the one with facial hair?
Yes.
He
With long hair.
Yeah, yeah.
He has a cookbook as well, and it was the #1 best-selling book on Amazon for a while.
Huh.
Okay, so we've got audio. Huzzah!
Cool. It's actually working despite our terrible internet connection. I like it.
We
My son
have
just
been
tried
doing
to
this
spell
all
daddy
for
as Dasty.
you.
Dasty?
No,
We're
Daphne.
here,
Daphne.
and we're together, which is a miracle
Yep.
in and of itself. Look at this. Welcome to the Harem retreat. You get to be tubed in.
Tube?
Tubed.
Tubed in.
Tubed in for this discussion.
Yeah.
Told tubular, man.
Honest.
Told tubular.
I dropped your fingers.
That's that's okay.
We also have Jeds,
Your
which you can't
orders.
partake in, but they are here.
I will
They can
partake
partake
in
in
a
that.
Definition
Jed
of dead
for
is
you.
Oreos.
They can partake in the Jeds with
Wait,
this.
do you want to? Let me switch it over to the camera so
Give
we can
Jed.
actually see
Oh.
what we're currently doing. Look at there we are.
Yeah.
Hey, now we can see us.
Huzzah! Got a live
fell.
stream of me.
We didn't get
That's-
the normal Jeds.
It's great. It's great audio of just.
We don't have to go on those jets.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. We bought
Yeah.
some normals.
Oh, ew.
Are they still covered?
I think
Yeah, they're in the
there.
cupboard. No, I've had a few of them, but
Same.
Well, we all say hello from extremely rainy, oddly rainy Prescott, Arizona.
it's not that
No,
on.
it's lovely. It's lovely, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's pretty normal this time of year, but it is lovely and rainy, and I love it.
Lovely June.
Isn't it lovely, June?
You know, you grew up in a desert when it starts raining and everybody's just super excited and runs outside.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously though,
When I hung out by the koi pond at the worst of it was lovely.
is that where you went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chat
We
pulled up
saw
on my
you run
phone
out there.
just
I'm
in
just like,
case.
okay, whatever.
Yeah, I went out to the koi pond.
Let them be
Let's
hoonigans.
just
Woo!
Now our side and his side has chat.
Yeah, that's it. Zaz and I kind of just went a little bit crazy. We're like, it's raining.
That's okay. You're allowed.
Okay, so actually, let's see here. I think that let's see here. So the ones who have shown their faces thus far on the channel have been Nathan,
Camille.
and I showed my face like way back when for
At
like
the
the
very
second
beginning.
video
Yeah.
that we ever posted.
Yeah.
So this is my updated face.
I haven't had a webcam, so I'm Scott.
It's updated.
And
Good old
this is Spoosh. I mean Spencer.
Or both.
Spentoosh.
Spooshin'.
These chairs are a little squeaky. You'll have to forgive
Yeah.
us. Hold on, I'm just gonna make sure.
Just don't move your butt.
Impossible.
I've clenched that butt. Clenched them
Clench
butt
it right.
cheeks.
Oh, cool. You
Clench
sent
it
someone to
tight.
Discord.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So hold
That's
on
an
to-
anus clencher.
Hold on to your cheeks. We're going.
I don't like that one.
Made my anus pucker.
No, stop.
That's what I say whenever I go over a bump in my car. Oh, that's an anus punker.
No. I don't like it.
There's a bump I go over all the time while I'm doing Uber Eats that I just love to hit as fast as I can because it like the butterfly feeling just. Whoosh.
Oh, I thought you were about to say because it just makes your anus pucker, right?
Well, that's that too. But I did that accidentally. I had a coffee order. It was like four
It's so
cups
weird
of coffee.
seeing yourself
And I
doing
hit the
things
bump
delayed.
and panicked because I
Yeah.
forgot the coffee was there.
See, I'm about to tell
And
you
it's
what
just
I
like,
just
oh
said.
crap.
And then
I mean,
you're gonna see.
The coffee is the important part. Nobody cares about the suspension of your car. The coffee is the important part, right?
Oh, I just did it.
Are you looking at the delay?
Yeah, we have 3 people. I think two
It's
of
probably-
Two
I
of
think it's
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's fine.
we only need really one. Oh, and we've got then Tunnel Rat. Yeah.
Hi,
Welcome.
Harrison. That's my friend Harrison.
Nice.
Oh, Harrison.
Hey, Harrison. Woo.
I like
What?
that name. That was the
Oh,
name
I
of one
thought
of my
this was a
teachers,
crop I
but
was trying to
I don't
put
hold
it
that
in.
against you.
Harrison or Tunnel Rat?
Harrison.
Harrison.
Although Tunnel Rat would also be an apt way to
You know
describe
another
him.
topic, just because we were talking about with Amber on the Discord,
Uh-huh.
is dealing with negative
Oh.
comments.
Ooh,
Yeah.
let's make
I
that a
think
topic
that
for
would be a really
tonight.
good
Oh,
topic,
for sure.
along with the
What are we playing?
Flanderize.
I'm responding. Don't you do it.
All right. Yeah. We're talking about that
There's a
riding.
bug.
How about the good riding?
Oh, I was like, why did you?
Why are we all slapping our phones?
I
Because Scott did, and I was confused.
It was a bug.
Hey, it's loading.
slap at the phone.
Uh-oh. Did it just start loading for
It's
you?
working for me.
No.
It's-
Yeah, we're good.
they're working fine
I
for
think
me.
it's just my phone. We're good.
Weird.
Okay. Well,
Cool.
Start.
yeah. Let's get started with this. So, our one of our topic, our main topic, which happens to also be on the thumbnail, is do not Flanderize your characters. And Nathan, please take it away, since you're
Yeah.
the one who has coined this fantastic phrase.
Well, I can't necessarily say that I coined the phrase. I'd heard the phrase elsewhere on the internet. But basically, for those who don't know what Flanderizing is, there's a character in Simpsons, thank you, named Flander. And basically, his character, who was relatively complex at the beginning of the Simpsons show, over time kind of became very, very one-note, very kind of an exaggeration of his original character, to the point where it's like he only really has one character trait. And that character trait just over the years has become more and more him, to the point where it's like this character doesn't really have any more depth because he only exists as this singular character trait.
What is his character trait as someone who does not watch this?
Christian.
More
That's about it.
Wait, is that why the Jesus is watching meme is
Yeah.
because of that?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I
pretty much
think
it, yeah.
I'm not super familiar with Simpsons either, but it's something like that, yeah.
He's like your
Like your super
he's
goody
like
two shoes.
middle-aged,
Yeah.
judgmental Christian.
But he's also like extremely friendly.
Yeah, like super goody two shoes, and
Yeah.
that's as far as like the complexity of his character goes.
God.
At least nowadays. Back it used to be much more different. And so the idea is that it's like, don't Flanderize your character. Don't make your character who's complex at the beginning. Don't like continue to give them complex interactions, complex emotions throughout the story. Don't just rely on that one singular quirk that they have
Yeah.
as the story progresses.
And you have to give them the ability to change.
Yeah.
Like they have to have that chance to learn and to grow, just like your main characters
Yeah.
do. Seeing a little bit of that progression in the side characters helps along with your story as well.
I think a really good example of this is Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. The main character absolutely loves just super terrible, bizarre analogies. But
Your face is like a potato.
Oh.
That's beautiful.
And it's like, that's
It
not
is.
even an analogy. That is a simile. And like people
Yeah.
are like, that's not. Like, he's like, I love metaphors. Dude, that's a simile.
yeah. Yeah. But it's like he exists so much more beyond that. like his character, like that's just a quirk of his. And you know, you see this a lot where characters become their quirk, where it's like, oh, you want a silly. For example, Adventure Time. You know, you have the banana guards who are just like, we're really incompetent guards of the royal palace, and that's our entire character development. You know,
Mama said.
which is like, for a character you only see once or twice, that's fine.
Right.
But if it's going to be a recurring character, somebody you're going to be seeing over and over again, you want them to have a lot more depth beyond that.
In the same vein as Adventure Time, Ice King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice King goes from just like, I'm the villain of the week and I kidnap princesses, to like, holy cow, you are like the guy who's like sacrificed everything for Marcy. You have a crazy history. You are actually like a hero.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're a tragic figure. Like, there's so much to Ice King, but you don't get that at first.
Yeah.
Right.
Grows into that.
Then
Definitely.
that begs the question of, especially if you have a side character, how do you avoid Flanderizing them? Sounds like the oven's on.
I'm going to double I might have left it
I
on.
heard a click.
Say, there's as far as side characters go, the side characters need to have chances as well to grow and then to show off that growth.
Yeah.
This was something I put into one of the more recent videos of here on YouTube about, like, it's not just enough to say, hey, a character has reached a certain moment. You then have to show what it's like after that. And an example that just, it's what you should not do, is sadly from Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
With Lopin. And I know tons of people love Lopin, and anyone who's a huge fan of the Stormlight Archive is probably going to hate me for saying this, but Lopin is a bad character.
I'm right there with you, to be honest.
Yeah. He started off really good in the first book.
Yeah.
Like,
He's really funny, but he's nothing... You don't have very much character growth with him.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why I feel like... I wouldn't go as far as you would, where he, like... I don't think he distracts from the story. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's a terrible character, but there's no character growth, and so I don't find myself actually connecting to him at all. Mm-hmm. I feel like, oh, he's just here for a good laugh, and then that's it.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And the biggest moment of character development for Lopin came at a convention with Sanderson, where someone asked him, well, spoiler alert, how did Lopin regrow his arm when he had lost it for so long? And Sanderson said he's never seen himself as a one-armed man. That is the most character development that Lopin gets, and it's not even in the books. It's not even in
really
Dawnshard, which has a lot of Lopin's perspective. Yeah. And it's neat to get into Lopin's head, but the sad thing is that when you get into Lopin's head, you realize that he is the same joke. Yeah. Again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. And by the end of the book, he has a massive realization. He swears the next ideal, and you're like, yes, this is the moment where he's going to move forward. No, we then get to Rhythm of War, and it's right back to the same Lopin.
No.
Have you read Stormlight Archive?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I cried on the last book.
I cried a lot too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like Sanderson is a great author. He's a great author. But just because you're a great author doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes. And I think it's because he loves Lopin.
Stop that.
He loves Lopin's sense of humor. But that's the things that Lopin has been relegated to a comic relief.
Right.
Yeah.
When there's other comic relief characters who have gotten great development, like Rock and Wits.
Lift.
They've all gotten great character development. They're all funny. And you need that levity because Stormlight Archive is heavy. But Lopin hasn't progressed.
Yeah, the only reason he exists as a character is to make you laugh, and when that's the only reason, what is there to connect with?
Right.
Yeah. I was just thinking, you don't have to spend an entire chapter like giving these characters like the growth that they need, like to like expand on their characters. Even just like a little reference here and there can do it. I'm thinking specifically about the cabbage merchant in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because he's this comedic relief throughout the entire story, and like he only has a couple of lines. But then you get to the third season when they're at the play that the Fire Nation does, and you mentioned, oh yeah, and we got a lot of this information from this surprisingly knowledgeable cabbage merchant, and you're like, this guy's a businessman. He knows how to leverage what he has to like earn money, and I'm like, that's character progression right there. We only got like a one sentence line, but we got more more cabbage
Just
merchant
in that
progression.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you don't need this big thing to show, oh, like this character's gotten better. This person's more along those lines. I think in Korra they mentioned him once or twice too, but I can't remember.
You see
him, he gets arrested.
Yeah.
That's my cabbage corp.
I think that's like his son or grandson or something, but yeah. But it's like, really the thing that you need to do is just continually, and like you said, it doesn't have to be like a whole chapter or something, but just like show that your characters are progressing. Show that they are, doing things for themselves and becoming better. Whether that's, progressing the story along or whatever else it is specifically for that character that helps them grow. And to just don't rely specifically on their quirk. Like, their quirks are great for, like, really endearing you to them, but if all you're doing is relying on that quirk, then there's not really any depth. And it's the depth that we love. It's the depth that we connect with.
And
I was just going to say, because if you think about it in real life, you do meet people where it's like they make one thing their entire personality, and those people are a pain to be around.
Yeah.
So, like, how does that come off when you're reading something?
Yeah.
That type of character gets old fast.
Yeah. There's another example I want to throw out there. I think it might. Well, let's see. Nathan, you've also read Beyonders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So Beyonders, fantastic series. A series by Brandon Mold that's not quite as fantastic, unfortunately, is the Five Kingdoms. There's a character who's in the entire series, the entire way through. I hate him. I've basically blocked as much as I can from my memory because he just grades on my nerves so much. The thing though is that it's not just simply a quirk, but it's like when one personality trait becomes that character. It's like him. What is his personality trait? I'm grumpy, and so sometimes I'm the bully, and that's literally the only thing that he does. He exists to insult and bully the main characters. The main character is a hero. And the main character, because he's a kind kid, gives some of the credit for the victories as well to the bully. And the bully's like, I'm so great. Yeah, I'm totally going to win the princess. Which he does. And it makes
For what?
And it's like, wait a second. This guy, he bullies people. He's perpetually pissed off. The only other thing that he has is a magical rope. That magical rope is the only reason why he hasn't died since book 1. It's like, take away that magical rope, this character should have died in the first book. And there's nothing else that he brings to the story.
I don't remember who this character is.
Now I remember his name, Jace. Jace is an awful character.
I still don't remember who this character is.
We've talked about, like, having dull characters before, and I think a lot of people try to, I'm going to add this super special quirk to make them not so dull anymore. But if all you're doing is just putting that quirk in, they're still going to be dull.
Right.
If they're not actually growing as a character in some form or fashion throughout the story, that's what makes your character interesting. It's not necessarily the quirk you're giving them.
Yeah.
It's that progression. It's that
the
growth.
struggle.
Yeah.
It's the learning. It's the making mistakes and moving past them.
Yeah,
that's what's interesting.
And that's why it's important to kill your, like that phrase we use all the time for writing. You have to kill your darlings. You have to be willing to make your characters miserable and have them go through a couple of challenges throughout the story, or else the story's just not going to be that interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's not really what the phrase "kill your darlings" mean, but you're absolutely right that it's like.
Acts those scenes and those moments.
I must be misunderstanding something, but
kill your darlings is like I really like this idea in this story, but it doesn't fit in the story, so I need to kill the darling.
Or this scene, or this
well, I feel like it
concept.
could be used in a number of different ways.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect example.
One of them.
Yeah. We should coin that. It's kill your Supermans. No, kill your
Mary Sues.
Kill your Mary Sues. Oh, I'll happily murder my Mary Sue's.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. We got to coin a
Kill
term.
him with an ice cream sandwich.
Anybody on stream have any good
Have any
ideas for what to call this concept?
of making your character suffer?
Yeah.
Man,
Just make them.
make them
Depression.
make them suffer because you care. Depression because we care.
Because we care.
That's awful.
That sounds like a writing. That sounds like an
This
author
is
if I've ever
terrible
heard one.
advice.
It's terrible.
I feel like we're in some sort of weird, like, antidepressant commercial. Depression. Because we care.
I gave you depression because I love you.
Side effects include.
It just makes me think of recreators.
Oh,
Anime recreators.
oh, that's so great. If anybody out there is looking for a good anime to watch that's about storytelling, like
Really good storytelling.
yeah, like legitimately about storytelling, not necessarily good storytelling,
Inception.
but yeah,
Inception's
something that's
a
very
good
fourth
one,
wall
too.
breaking.
Oh no, I mean
recreators.
it's Inception because it's a story
Yeah.
in a story.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very meta.
Yes.
We should seriously, like, all of us should just, like, watch it again and then, like, have a discussion,
Have
because
a
there's so
commentary
many
about
incredible things, like, about, like, what the authors learn from their own stories and what the stories learn, and the author's like, no, I had to put you through this.
Yeah,
And the character's all like, but he's like,
why
it's like, trust
couldn't
me,
I
like, I had to get you to a certain point, but then yet I love when the berserk, like, when the guts like characters like, could you just please give me a scene where I drink coffee and relax for once? And he's like,
Oh, yeah.
I actually never thought about that.
Yeah.
That you needed a chance to, like, relax.
So here's a total random question. Okay, we're gonna derail this conversation for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
If you met one of your main characters, doesn't necessarily have to be a specific one, but what would you do? What would be the first thing you do?
Cry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's accurate.
yeah.
It depends on the main character that I'm meeting.
true.
If I ran into Bob, I might try running as fast in the other direction. Be like, no,
Yeah.
I do not want to be next to you.
I would probably hug them and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you needed it. I know it sucks, but you needed it.
Well,
Builds
and that's what
character.
is one of the things that
Literally.
recreators touched on is like being the creator and meeting your like creation in that regard. Like it's just you're writing down their life story, you're writing down their fate, and you're making it interesting. It's memorable,
Yeah.
in some form or fashion. And you're like, you would have had just a boring normal life otherwise, kind of idea. You might have appreciated it more. Well, you appreciate that idea more now than you did back then.
Well, it's like, I just want a boring life. Yeah, but if you went with that boring life, you would never have learned this about yourself. Like, I look at a character like Ben. It's like, seriously, Ben, if you had not gone on this crazy adventure, or you wouldn't have met all the friends that you did, you wouldn't have realized that there is something to fight for. You wouldn't have gotten over so many personal problems that you had shoved down so deep that you thought they didn't exist anymore.
This just sounds like justification for putting characters through shitty situations.
Exactly.
It is.
So call A, they'll call B. So my question for you guys, back
Yes.
onto the topic of Flanderization,
Yes.
because is how do you personally feel that you can prevent a Flanderization of a character happening?
You have to keep in mind the actions of all the other characters in your story, and keep in mind, like, okay, this character does this, how does it affect this character? And you have to properly show that in your story.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing that, you're actually going to be able to show that growth and progression. You're like, okay, this character learned this because this character did that.
Yeah.
Or this character is figuring this out, and it's going to affect this character in some sort of fashion. And so if you're able to, like, show that as your characters are, like, mirrors of each other in that regard, and, like, they're going to have their own ways to react to these things. But, like, if you're actually showing that kind of stuff, it's going to make a more interesting story.
Yeah. I've got an example. So in Knights of Halicruz, there's one character, Tuffy. Gotta love Tuffy. Little tiny
Good old
elf.
Tuffy.
He's a
God,
good
your
one.
Achilles.
Always got you, Achilles.
I mean, here's the thing. There's like when you look at like if you just look straight on at Tuffy, like if let's say you find the chat, you read like in the middle of the book when Tuffy's introduced, and then you skip to the end of the book because you're a horrible person. You skip to the very end and you read and you see Tuffy there. Like it would seem as though Tuffy really hasn't grown because he's still the gruff little elf that shouts out, "Guard your Achilles." But Tuffy does have a moment of change, actually a couple moments of change, where he has to confront in a way kind of his own anger because he lets his own anger get to him, gets himself into a bad situation that Ben has to bail him out of, and so because of that, Tuffy's all like I promise I'm going to do more to like actually follow you, and then he follows through with that, and Tuffy becomes Ben's most loyal supporter in the military.
Yeah.
And so that's how Tuffy grows. There's a lot of him that just remains the same, and that's absolutely fine. But Tuffy has his faults, and he addresses them, and he tries to overcome them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the simplest way, which is also the hardest way to show.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. But it's by far the most straightforward way, but it's the hardest way because we don't want to do this. Make your characters make mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is the hardest but simplest way to do it. And, I mean, nobody wants to make their characters make mistakes. That's why Mary Sue's are such a big thing out there, because Mary Sue's don't make mistakes. We don't want our characters to make mistakes, but
I like mistakes.
Mistakes make the characters interesting, and that's why
sometimes it just depends on what genre you're writing for. Because, like, I could see somebody trying to write for fiction or, like, the actual fantasy section. You're going to need to pay attention to these things. Teen section, if you want to like have a good book in that section, yeah. Other books I've seen in that section, they get away with Mary Sue's more often than they should.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because that comes down to, and we've talked about this before, like understanding your audience. But if like there's, for instance, like teens want to see idealized versions of themselves,
Right.
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why you don't have characters make quite as many mistakes in a teen story. But one of the things, though, that is more rewarding is that when you get to see a character make mistakes, fail, rise again, that is ultimately way more personable. And so like that's what you should go for. Yeah, sure, the Mary Sue character might sell well, but the personable character is the character that will keep your audience with you.
Yeah.
It's more relatable.
Yeah.
Much more relatable.
That is the better word, relatable.
if you're not frustrated by what your characters are doing, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. One of my managers at Barnes & Noble, he full on told us, he's like, I got into the third book of this series. It's the Patricia Briggs series.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to the end of the third book and was just so frustrated with the decisions that the characters made. And he's like, and that's when I knew it was a good series.
Yeah.
Because
Didn't
I
he
was
throw it at the
frustrated.
wall?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he threw
he
it at
threw
the
the
wall.
book
and
at the
he's
wall.
like,
Oh.
he knew it was a good series because he was frustrated with the characters' actions. He wasn't frustrated with like the story or the plot or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
He still loved that, but he was frustrated with like the way the character had reacted to this kind of thing. And he's like, I'm actually responding to the characters' problems and mistakes, and not like any bad writing in it.
Yeah.
He's like, I knew it was good at that point.
Does that mean that The Order of the Phoenix is a good book?
I still stand by that is my favorite Harry Potter book.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had such a hard time finishing The Order of the Phoenix.
Same.
Actually, the sixth one might be my favorite.
Really?
I love the sixth book. The third is my favorite.
The third has the best mixture of like fun, whimsical moments and like more serious ones.
Bigger.
Get
plot.
it?
Yeah.
Serious moments.
And you're wearing a
There she goes. Goodbye, Overlord.
Oh,
No, she's kicking you out.
Yeah.
And that, friends, is how it goes.
Anyway.
Clear in the window.
Let me in.
Please, sir.
You make them in.
Atone for your sins.
That almost needs its own fine, because we were talking about get fined for saying the word ooh.
Yes.
Nate should
We find for a pun like that.
Existing.
That's true. He's an egg.
No.
What'd you say?
He's an egg.
He's an egg.
It's an egg boy.
That's the egg boy. Good. Good microphone though. Bad microphone.
Wait, don't peel off my little puffies.
Oh, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Oh, I won't.
All right, we're getting distracted.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like frustrating moments with characters. I will say I'm going to put it though in a caveat in there. Like it has to be something where once again though, like the frustrating decisions or the frustrating mistakes that characters make also make sense, because there are moments in books where it can be extremely frustrating what a character does or what a character says, and the thing is that you know that the author specifically did it this way to contrive a situation. That is so annoying. Yeah, so like you can feel when it's contrived, but then there's moments where you can feel like, hey, like this makes sense. Like, okay, of course a character would make this mistake because they're impulsive, or because they're scared, or because they don't have enough information.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Here's a question though. Do you feel like Flanderizing of a character happens more to side characters than main characters though? Because I feel like it's more of a side character thing, but
It's more common with side characters, but I have seen main characters.
Right, but we've mostly been talking about it in the scope of main characters and not side characters.
Right, but I think a lot of it still applies to side characters. Like just like we were saying earlier, it's like you don't have to have this whole chapter dedicated to the side character in order to progress their character. Just give us little glimpses, little moments of them.
Well, here's an interesting thought that I was having while we were talking about it, because if we're looking at it through the POV of your main character, like, what do they know about a side character? What do they come to learn about a side character? Because that can, if you're going through their perspective, you're looking through their lens of knowledge about a person, and so as you get to know someone, that changes over time. So I think Scott, your point of like the cabbage salesman, like that's such a good example of a side character where it's like, oh, we now get that little tidbit of knowledge that then allows not only like the characters to kind of change their perspective, but the readers as well.
Right.
What was the name of the second Hunger Games book again?
Catching Fire.
Catching Fire. In Catching Fire, there's some good examples because, thinking about like if it's told from the perspective of the main character, when Katniss meets all of the other champions of past games, they're all getting thrown on in. Katniss knows some stuff about these former champions, how they won and everything, and because the champions are so popular and everything, people know, at least through television, what they've done with their lives. And so Katniss comes in with these preconceived notions of these characters, and a lot of the former champions then come across as extremely flat. What then changes them is as it goes on, and you then learn that they're all part of this rebellion, and they've been plotting this for a long time, and they're using their strengths and their weaknesses. Like the one who's hyped up on drugs kills himself at the very beginning to save her, because he's like, I know I'm not going to survive. I'm going to kill myself because my life is a wreck. Right. And he does it to save them. And it's like that gives this character who, I don't even remember his name, but like it gives him a little bit of depth that he didn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
The series is old. I mean, we're already at like snake.
It's been out for
birds and
over
snakes.
10, 15 years by now.
There's movie adaptations.
Honestly, as much as some aspects of the world building of the Hunger Games don't make a whole lot of sense, i.e., like, is the whole world like this, or is it just the United States and everyone else is like?
Everybody else they just do their own.
They'll figure it out. But
I mean, that's kind of what the rest of the world is doing right now. So it's like they're doing their own thing.
But I feel honestly like that's a good series. It's because it's so for a young adult series. Like it was really well done, and it's so like human and realistic and just gritty. And I feel like Katniss was so different. This is totally side rail conversation, but I feel like she was such a different protagonist that that was like the first time we had seen a character like that in any YA thing.
Yeah, she was not your copy paste.
Right.
Yeah.
Like as a teenager, because those came. Wow.
Yeah.
Just dated myself. Like I was in high school when they came out, and as a teenager, it's like, oh wow, Team Gale, Team PETA, by the way. But like now as an adult, you look at I can look back at it and be like, holy crap, those books you can appreciate them for how they're not about a love triangle.
No.
And it's like, yeah, she put that in there because it appeals
because
to
teens.
Teens are horny, but it stands alone.
This isn't Twilight.
Yeah,
Where's the lie?
That's the thing. It's it stands alone as its own series with a good plot and really human characters that it doesn't rely on a contrived love triangle.
Exactly. Even though, like you said, the world building has some major plot holes.
Oh,
Yeah.
But despite that, she did a great job with it.
She does.
I've been wanting to read Gregor the Overlander, which is by her as well. And
yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
that one is hops and leaps better than the Hunger Games.
Right, because wasn't the Hunger Games her first?
Yeah, it was her first, which is an impressive
An
beginning.
impressive
I
first.
actually got that book for one of my nephews, but he's all he could not. He actually got legit scared by what was in the book, so he's like, I don't want to finish reading this. And I'm like, I guess I now have to be the one to read it, but I haven't taken it up.
I don't know, just an example from one of my favorite books, specifically the Bulgarian by David Eddings. You look at it and the plots, comparing to a lot of other fantasy novels and whatnot, it's not all that. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
You've got the same basic hero's journey and all that kind of stuff. It's fairly generic as it comes to fantasy novels.
Yeah.
But it's the characters that
It's
save
about
it.
as generic as you can get for fantasy.
Yeah.
But
But
it works really well.
and the characters are where the story's at, and every character has wonderful growth and progression throughout the entirety of the 5-book series, and I love it. That's the reason it's my favorite book. It's just because I love these characters so much.
It goes back to the fact that your characters are what drives the story.
Yeah.
And my analogy, I think I shared this last live stream, but there's the analogy of your characters are the drivers. You can put an old man in a sports car and he's not going to drive it like a sports car should be driven.
Yeah.
But you can put an F1 driver in a Toyota Corolla and he's going to rip it around the track and have a blast in it. And so it's you can have a terrible plot and great characters and still have a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's pretty much what comedy is.
Touche.
I was actually, while we were talking, I don't know if any of you guys have read the Scythe books.
Read the
I've-
first book.
I've been wanting to.
I've read half of the first one.
I read all three. The third one.
I've heard so many.
I've heard
good
it's
things
so
about
good.
it.
It's
I need to
beautiful.
sit down and finish it.
I actually loved the first one. Second one kind of was whatever, but the third
The
one's
curse
really
of the second book.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And
Sequel
so
levels.
in that one, I guess I can't talk about it because it'll spoil it. It has a very similar situation where it's what's the rest of the world doing? But I don't know who the writer is. They do a really good job.
Neil
of,
Shusterman.
Yeah, he does a really good job of bringing everything to a head and being this is what's happening outside, this is what's going on, and this is why it all ties into the same
why it's all
plot point.
important.
And it's really nice because you see the characters you normally wouldn't interact with, kind of like the cabbage salesman, and have their plots come to a head, and you see all of that, and when you thought, this is just happening on the sideline, he's just whatever. It's oh no, he has been doing this for years now, and it's finally all showing in his character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
think
like
it
that.
really gives you a chance. You've got all these character plot lines progressing side by side with your main character, and you get to the finale of the book, and it's these multiple plot lines meeting, clashing,
Converge.
Yeah.
and it makes it so much better. Unlike, and you like to rag on Game of Thrones so
Oh
much.
yeah.
Everything I've heard about Game of Thrones, it's always we're gonna start these different character plot lines, and then we're gonna crash them.
Yeah.
And,
And then we're
it's
just
not
gonna
gonna
kill the
lean on
character
that.
instead of
It's
Yeah.
so frustrating.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Why grow a character when you can just axe them?
Exactly.
Or make them sleep with their cousin.
Or both.
Ew.
Or their sister.
There's, yeah. Well,
We're
there's-
definitely not in Alabama.
yeah, well, like there.
No offense to Alabama.
Like here's like.
But really, we're coming for you.
There's a scene. There's a scene in A Dance with Dragons that like it's so strange. It's actually a scene that I do like where Jamie Lannister is talking with a bunch of people. They're out on campaign. They're going to go besiege Catelyn's uncle's castle, the Blackfish. It's a matchup that you're really excited for, but like all battles that Martin writes, they're all sucky because the Blackfish just jumps and swims away.
Oh.
And so it's like, what the heck? But like leading up to it, there's actually a really great discussion between all the different characters about what this war is doing and how they have changed. And Jamie is like, he's like internalized. He's like, I am scum. I raped my sister on top of our son's corpse.
Yeah.
And like that's the
That
moment.
happened.
And like that, and so like this moment where he's having this conversation,
Because he's trash.
and it's a moment where he like realizes, I'm scum. I have to change. And so after that point, he like really starts to like do more to like better himself. He puts himself onto a redemption arc, and I mean it's up to you to decide whether he can actually be redeemed. But
And
like
then
that,
the
but
last
like
season-
but like that's cool.
We don't
And
talk about
all the other characters, in that scene, like this is also meant to be a moment for them where they're like where like they're growing in some kind of way. Wait, for two characters, what's their growth? I'm losing my virginity right now behind the curtain, and then this other girl, and I haven't bitten his lips with my jagged teeth.
Kinky.
And that's it. Like that's it. And Jamie's all like, very good for him. You've lost your virginity, and girl, man, with those jagged teeth, I'm so proud of you. And it's just like,
Bruh.
why? Like that? I'm sorry. Like this. Like George R. R. Martin, why did you have to slip this on in here? This didn't do anything for these other characters, and why does there have to be two characters banging behind Jamie as Jamie is like having like a really great character moments?
Yeah.
These are just reasons why Game of Thrones sucks.
Game of Thrones has some like genuinely like hidden in the rough. There are some gems of amazing writing and character development, but it's just muddled up with all of the bullcrap that George R. R. Martin. I don't know why he put it in there. Maybe he thought it was funny and it's not.
Oh my
Because he's
It's
a horny
gross.
old man.
He's a horny
he's just a
butt
horny
turd.
creep.
Yeah.
A butt turd because I'm
A
not.
butt turd.
Yeah, he's just an old horny butt turd. Anyway,
So,
Yeah.
do we have anything else we want to talk about with Flanderizing?
for Flandrizing, not so much.
I
We
think
did
we've-
want to talk about briefly because we had on our Discord. We wanted to talk a little bit about like taking criticism,
Yeah.
or like bad criticism
Well,
specific.
and like dealing with negative comments because
Yeah.
like there's definitely a difference between getting like
Criticism.
constructive comments
like
and you're
water
like,
droplets.
okay, I can see where you're coming at from here, and then just getting hate comments and
Yeah.
like hate comments, you really shouldn't like worry about
Yeah.
them.
yeah,
They're
Yeah.
just ignore them.
Yeah, just
it's
ignore
hard.
them.
It's hard to ignore them, but
it
just,
is hard.
just ignore them.
Well, like, let's hear. So I hope that Cyberwolf Writes is still with us here on the live stream. But they were the one that had that thing where it's just like someone's all like, "Your fanfic is like foreskin, should be cut away and thrown away because it's useless." It's just all like, well,
While that is creative, sir.
That's a very
Actually,
creative
Yeah.
criticism, but it's not a helpful one. So just ignore it.
Yes.
Is what we're saying. So it's like if there's nothing that actually says like, hey, this part of the story was like, I didn't like how it flowed, then you could be like, okay, so how would we change the flow of the story? You know?
Right.
But if it's just like, this was stupid, I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay.
How am I supposed to
Right.
improve off of that? Like you gave me no context as to
Right.
why you didn't like it.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, and Sarah Wolf writes put here like the other one was just rude. Like there was no rude comment.
Yeah.
And like it's hard. It's hard because this is your story. You're the one who's actually putting the effort and everything, and you're the one who's taking the risk putting it out there. And when someone just treats it like that, you're just like, screw you, my good sir.
Yeah.
Right.
But like you can't let it get to you. And I think like one of the ways that I have at least dealt with it, because when I did my Bleach fan fiction, I got torn into by this one guy. It was kind of funny because he kept coming back to keep reading my installments until he realized I wasn't going to stop. And then he finally stopped. They finally started going. But like I had to take myself out of it for a little bit and just say, why am I writing this? Yeah. Am I writing it because I want likes, or am I writing it because this is a story I want to or have to tell?
Yeah.
And it was, I really want to change. I really want to write this story because I really hate the way that Bleach ended.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm writing this fanfic.
Yeah.
And I don't care, sir, if you hate it.
Yeah, and there's always going to be toxic people in every fanfiction. I mean, there's some fanfictions that are going to be even worse than others. But, I mean, and you just kind of have to deal with the fact, there's going to be these people who are going to disagree with how you want to set the story. Yeah. But they're not the ones writing it. It's not their idea. It's not like anything they're in control of. Yeah. And so you really shouldn't pay them any mind if they start giving you hate speech.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, and I feel like this sums up it, not just about shipping, but just in general, like, because they were talking about ships and someone was complaining about a ship, and they said complaining about a ship versus how you're writing the ship is two different things. And I feel like that's just applicable on a general scale of like, complaining about the story is different than complaining about how the story is written.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I feel like someone who actually, like, I don't know, cares, not necessarily cares, but you'll have people who will care about what you're writing that will still give you criticism. You'll have people who are probably hate reading it, but they'll still give you criticism, and you can still find value in that.
Then you'll find people who just want to drag you down.
And at the end of the day, it's like, those people don't matter because they're just sad little baby men, and you can't please them, honestly.
And I think it's really interesting that my aunt, who is a professional author, she specifically found somebody who she knew didn't like her. Yeah. Like, she knew that, like, if I give you this book, you're gonna hate it, and I want you to hate it, and I want you to tell me exactly why you hate this book. Which is like the smartest thing you can do. Yeah. Because then she will not hold back. She'll be like, this one I didn't like, this one I didn't like, this one I didn't like. And because of that, her storytelling like just got leagues better, because she's like, okay, I now know where I fall short and what I need to work on. And it's hard. It's sometimes hard to receive criticisms. It just is.
Oh yeah.
Especially
when it's something very personal to you.
Exactly. And it's like, as long as you're taking what is being said and you're growing from it, learning from it, seeing how you can incorporate it, if it's something that you want to incorporate. And that's a big key, because it's like, if you want to, at the end of the day, you should always write what you want to write, because you're the one who has to write it. And if you don't enjoy writing it, then the readers aren't going to enjoy reading it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and actually on that subject of take the criticism. If someone means the criticism well, or is actually giving you genuine feedback, even if it's like, I hate your story, but they're giving you real feedback, take that into consideration and see what you can do with it. But you don't have to take it all to heart and put it into your story. So when I was talking with Danielle about Bleed, Steam, and Steel, and there's a couple of scenes, she was like, there's one scene right here, I don't feel like this works out really well with the character. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm tweaking one thing right here because I can kind of see where like this one moment comes kind of out the blue, but it fits who this character is. They would make this decision, and yes, it's a bloody one, but it's one that is well deserved. Well deserved. I'm going to keep it.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's happened with us before. Like, we've had conversations where it's like, Lars has suggested something, and I'm like, okay, cool, but I know the greater context of, and you're not there yet, you know, and it's like, but I still think it's good to be open-minded about that, but you don't have to take everything, because at the end of the day, like, you write what you want.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
That's great.
it's like you should, like I said, you should always write what you want to write, because you're the only one who knows your story as it is. You know, you're the one who knows the story the best, so you know where it's going. However, criticisms can help you elevate that story even further. They can also drag it down.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's people who just want to, you know, I want you to write the story that I'm too lazy to write, so this is what you need to write.
Exactly.
Like, don't listen to those kind of people. And
Yeah.
it can kind of be hard to pick those out of a crowd.
Right.
But it just comes down to, like, okay, look inward and be like, does this criticism actually hold merit? Like, am I actually... For example, I look at my own writing, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I can kind of notice a lot of my own criticisms.
Yeah.
Like, just reading through is like, ooh, I need to fix that, I need to fix that. I'm not
Right.
very good at this. It's like, I read like I have ADHD because I have ADHD. And so, like, my paragraphs and sentence structures are just all over the place. And it's like, I realize that I do this, and I'm like actively working on trying to fix it.
Right.
You know? And so it's like, I've noticed that that's something that I do. I also have a lot of characters where they're great characters, but they have no progression. And so it's like, now I need to figure out, like, how do I progress these characters, you know? And so it's
Right.
like, you should be able to look at your own story and be able to find it. You might have to set it aside for a year or two to be able to really see all of the flaws in it. But, like, those around you and those who maybe in a writing group, in your family, friends, they will be able to tell you, like, I really liked this, but I think you should also add this in because it feels like it's a little bit, you know. The more people you share your story with and the more criticism you receive, the better it's going to get. As long as you know which ones to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
the constructive ones.
Yeah.
I actually want to bring. I want to address this right here. I was going to type it out, but I think it's more fun to say. So Marco's Amazing Tacos wrote right here: people make more money off of criticism than creating, unfortunately, nowadays. And yeah, this is true. I mean, I listen to a bunch of YouTubers who look at entertainment.
Same.
Most of them are critics. Only a handful of them have actually created something.
Yeah.
And I actually want to go through and read the stories that these people have actually created, but that's another thing entirely. When I look at that particular quote, it reminds me of one of the few good things that comes out of the third Jurassic Park film, where this one kid, or the dumb kid that's stuck on the island, and is a Gary Stew because he survived inexplicably.
I'm trying to remember the third one.
It's okay if you don't remember it because it's awful. But he asks Alan Grant, the character from the first movie, why do you hate dinosaurs? He's like, I don't hate dinosaurs, but back then dinosaurs didn't try to eat me.
I remember now.
And so they have this that begins a conversation where then later on when one of the characters supposedly dies, he's like, why do you think Billy stole raptor eggs? And he's like, well, Billy's a dumb idiot, but Billy wanted to prove that something was real. He's like, it's like astronauts versus astronomers. Astronomers look at everything from a safe distance, what paleontologists do. But if you could go to the island and if you could touch it, you could prove that it is true.
Right.
And that's what astronauts do. The astronauts take the leap and they go into space. Creators take the dangerous leap and throw something out there into the world. We're the astronauts. Critics don't have to take that dangerous leap.
Yeah.
They can stay on Earth and just view things from a safe distance.
That's so true. It's easier to sit on the sidelines and judge something when you don't have any skin in the game.
Yeah. Literally, like a sports game, you know, you can look and be like, why did he do that?
What a terrible play.
Yeah, what a
It's
terrible
like,
play.
you're not
How
a
dare he kick
professional athlete.
the ball that way? But when you're down on the field, it's like, this is all I can see. I can't see the whole game. You know, like, I can see this. I see somebody running that way. I'm going to kick it. You know, but then somebody runs up behind you.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah.
And that's where the good criticism comes in. For whatever reason, the football coaches at the high school I work at love to use my room for all their football meetings. And so they're all like, hey, we're coming in to take over your room. And you're like, you guys have to work. Well, you guys just walked further away from the field than you had to. Why are you using my room?
Weird.
But in any case, they're using my room, and I've many times gotten to watch the footage that they've taken of the games. The kids all stare at the floor rather than at the screen. And now that I'm not the best football player, but I see definite merit where I'm like, oh, I see the mistakes that you guys made. And the coach is trying to show those are the mistakes you've made. So how can you then perform better? But the players just never take it to heart. And then they blame the coach for not improving. And so it's like, and so sometimes it's like, look, you as the author, you have to be able to also take the criticism and know, once again, which is good, what you're going to use. If you don't listen to any of it, you will never improve.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Rooster
sports
Teeth.
analogy.
Yeah, why does it? Yeah, Rooster Teeth needs to listen.
Rooster Teeth does not believe in listening to criticism, and that is what's wrong. That's everything that's wrong with Ruby.
Well, I feel like when you're, it's. I
Yes.
have like, it's hard like giving advice because I don't feel like there's one set
There's not.
of anything.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like it's when you're looking at like criticism, and it may help to ask yourself like, is this criticism going to help me get my story to where I want it to be? Like, will this help me get it to the best version of what I want? Or is this criticism becoming like an attempt to make it a story that someone else wants to write?
Yeah.
You know, because I found like that's often the case where it's like, you're not helping me craft the best version of my story. You're trying to
Overwrite my story into
Yes.
yours.
right into
Right.
what you want to do.
Voltron.
Who said that? That's the beauty of fanfic. But honestly, I'm like,
Yes.
if you don't like it, go write your own stuff. But like at the same time, it's hard though, because sometimes as a creator, it's hard to see the forest through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like you'll ever really get to a point, sadly, where you feel 100% comfortable taking criticism, because every story is different and every criticism will be different based on the story. Like, I think there will always be that room of like, ooh, should I listen to them or should I not? Like, I don't know. There is always going to be room for error, I think, just to be completely honest.
I agree. I agree with that right there. So it's going to be a constant game, but so long as you can recognize, and I think this is another thing just to bring up, because like we might say that it's so easy to recognize the bad criticism from the good,
Right.
but sometimes it can be difficult because criticism is in many cases is personal, and it takes a while to build a good rough skin against it.
Oh yeah.
And so it takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of effort to process what is good criticism, what isn't, and then to move on from there. It will always be difficult in that, right? So
Yeah.
I still love that quote. Thank you, Marco's Amazing Tacos. People make more money off criticism than creating, unfortunately, nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So we need to be the astronauts, the people who pave the world forward, pave the way forward.
Pave the world forward. Hello.
See my man would tell John. Rockin' Man.
Yeah.
Rockin' Man.
I haven't listened to that song in a long time.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
time to go listen to Elton John.
Is there anything from anybody on the chat that they want to bring up before we log off? Bring up some questions.
Because I really do want to hear from anyone in the chat. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to write that down. As I'm going to quickly throw out a quick experience from today that we had earlier. We were enjoying a fantastic monsoon thunderstorm and rain shower. It was amazing. And our good friend Zaza was here visiting us for a little bit. And she was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the perfect time to like write some like villainous like plotting moments. And I was like, you know what, it would be fun to write to a rainstorm right here. And so like I sat down and I started writing up a little excerpt for the third book in the Legend of the Ten Lords. Not so much necessarily a villain's scene, though I mean it kind of depends on how you see this particular character, but more like just extremely creepy because it gives you a view into Bob's mindset. Bob the Virus.
The virus.
The insane dude.
The one and only.
And so like I pull back the curtain for about like 800 words on what is going on in this guy's head. And
it's a scary place.
And it's terrifying, it's revealing, it's fascinating. And there's a part of me that like I looked at it and I was like, this is something that like it's like I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. But I might not put it into the third book when I go back to start working on the third book again.
Right.
And just because it's a moment that maybe reveals too much before I actually want to show my audience, my readers, what's really up with this guy. So I'm just going to say that, you know what, that's actually totally fine. It's okay to kind of jump ahead. It's okay to write excerpts for your characters or for your plots that you don't intend to put into your books.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
a lot of the
times.
times.
Do that. But like, it's one of those things where I have seen with other writers, especially very, very beginning writers, they believe that everything that they write has to go into the story.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like I have this ingredient, so I have to throw it into the pot. They haven't yet learned how to be a real chef and make that good meal. Instead, they're just using everything in the spice cupboard.
Yeah, a lot of the times, you know, those scenes should stay in the spice cupboard. That's one of those kill your darling moments.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have this excellent scene that helps flesh out the character, but the audience doesn't necessarily need to read that. If it doesn't fit into the story, don't put it in.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of my characters in the stories that I have yet to write. I've done that, where I've like written a scene to flesh out this character, figure out their personality, and that's something that I kind of have realized, like, most of these scenes I'll never use. Some of them I will, because some of them are like very specific scenes within the story that's helping me propel my own like excitement about the story forward.
Yeah, same.
And yeah, so there's like a lot of moments where it's like these scenes can help motivate you to get to that part.
Yeah.
And so I try not to, especially if it's like in the story I'm working on. If it's later on, then I'll try not to write it, because then I'm like, okay, I'm really excited to write this scene, but I have to write everything up to it in order to get there. And then that kind of helps propel me forward. Whereas it's like stories that I'm not yet working on, I'll write a scene just to kind of get the character's idea out.
Right. And I actually have a thought on that too, because it's like you can write all these scenes and you don't have to use them, but it's getting you into the mindset of your character, and it's giving you more to expand on your characters and getting you into them and being like, okay, this is how they would handle this sort of situation. Whether you use it or not doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you're growing your character, you're writing as your character, and it's giving you more to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what
good.
Cyberwolf writes about how he has multiple, or she, how they have multiple docs full of scenes and notes and stuff. I do too, but I have now successfully merged all of them into OneNote, which I highly recommend if you are like me and are hoarding notes and ideas and thoughts and things.
Merge that shit.
Yeah, put it all into OneNote, because that is a godsend for me as a writer, because you can break it up into notebooks and then sections and then chapters or like pages. And so I have like a notebook that is like one series, another series, and another series, and then within that series I have this book in the series, this book, this book, this book. But then we go by sheet. Okay, good to know.
That's why you always use they first.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, and so it's like that helps me stay organized, since I have so many thoughts just rummaging around in my brain. It helps keep me well categorized and compartmentalized as well. So.
Yeah, no, and that's something like as far as like organizing notes, like Camille and I have talked about like trying to like explore different kinds of note organizers.
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to get like a little bit more on, because like we've discovered some things. World Anvil, Oh boy, I remember.
Not worth it.
Not even
Good
worth.
for D&D.
Not
stuff,
even worth
but-
it for D&D.
Oh, JK, I take that back.
I my messy notebook where I have all of my notes for Gangs of Arrow Isle. That is even better organized than World Anvil.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is that like a website or an app?
It's a website. It's a
yeah.
website.
It's good, like Camille said. It's better for D&D than it is for
Story
writing.
writing.
Yeah.
Campfire Blaze has been. Here's the thing: Campfire Blaze has been nice, but now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't want to like put all my notes in again when I already have them in a Google Doc. Even if it would be better organized, it's just a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I've been really liking, like I said, I've been really liking OneNote because, like, it helps me. So I kind of have it set up, like I said, where I have like the series, and then I have the books, and then I have like the individual chapter for each of the books.
Right.
And so if I know, it's like, okay, so I want to go to Black Wings chapter 40, I just hit Black Wings chapter 40, and I don't have to scroll through my entire book to get there.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in
It's
too
awesome.
deep on Google Docs to.
It wasn't that hard to migrate
Yeah.
everything, to be honest with you. It might take a little bit for like chapters and stuff. That was
Yeah.
the part that took the longest. But I've been writing
boy.
Black Wings on there since chapter 15.
Yeah.
And so I just had to get the first 15 chapters, but now I have all 50 chapters.
Dang.
And, the 7 chapters for the rewrites and all my other stories on there now too.
Maybe
So
someday.
Yeah.
it's really nice
It's-
having it all together. Plus it syncs online with my phone and with all of my other computers, and so
Touche. Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah, and we also got several friends talking about using Scrivener, to make folders and stuff. So
Oh, I think she's
I mean,
okay.
links about that
Yeah.
before on Discord.
yeah, so there's plenty of different resources out there. It's going to take some more time and some more research, and to be all honest, like I need to this is my mentality. My mentality is I have it all up here in my head, and while I have it here, I'm just going to plow on ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't always the best, especially because I write long books,
Yeah.
and so that can get frustrating when I'm like, oh, did I get that right? And then the Dark
It's so
Rebellion
nice.
has been such a pain in the rear to write because I did get so much wrong. Like I actually got the tattoo that Jessica has wrong, and so I'm like, I need to go back and I need to fix that tattoo.
Yeah.
We were just talking about earlier today how I make a very big deal about the fact that one of my characters has green emerald eyes for the entirety of the series, but then for whatever reason in chapter 30, which within 30 chapters you think I'd know the color of my own character's eye, especially when I make such a big stink about it. But no, I say he has brown eyes. He doesn't have brown eyes, he has green eyes.
I don't know this name. Sorry, this name.
Who is this? man?
Why have I done this? I can't believe you've
I
done
was
this.
just about to say that.
That's just the way.
So that and we do agree. Google Docs it can get a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when I'm done writing, I will move it to Google Docs so
That's
that
a
it's
good idea.
easier to share,
Yeah, because I don't love
and so I can export it as an EPUB and have my phone read it to me. That's also
that's
good.
smart.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You can do that?
Yeah,
Whoa.
Yeah,
I need to do that more.
it's awesome because then you also hear what it actually is written.
Right,
Instead of
and
just what you read, you actually hear what is
so
written,
cool.
and you can find mistakes that way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
Someday.
I've written a full story where I kept flip flopping eye color. I once did that with hair color.
That's me with my character. Can't get her hair color to save my life.
No, and I mean, right now what I've been doing is I've been using Microsoft Word, and what I do is I create a folder in my just normal onto the PC docs, and then so I've got separate folders for this is the story, these are and then all the different docs are notes, draft, points to recognize, and everything like that. It works for me, but at the same time I also understand it's messy and it's not as streamlined as it could be to make it so much easier on myself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big problems.
Wonder.
Would
Would anybody be opposed to showing them how I have this set up?
no, not at all.
Okay. Let me wow,
How
this
do-
is really far away. It's hard to read. Window capture.
Get out of the way.
Okay.
All of us just leave. Okay, bye.
Is this one
Real
on?
space.
Is there one for
There's match title.
I can't
Which one are you looking for?
I'm looking for OneNote. Do you see OneNote in that option?
OneNote for Windows 10 is the top one.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It'll take a second for us to actually. Oh, you're just gonna flop to it.
Yeah, let's see. Is it gonna work?
Pop, pop, pop,
it working?
pop to the top.
Hello.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the stream. It's not.
It's still showing us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
But there is a delay, so it could have.
That's true.
I see your mouse.
You see my mouse?
Yeah, that's it though.
Yeah, why is it not showing?
Oh! It went black for one moment. Oh, it's black again.
Well, maybe it's not gonna work.
Oh, black again.
You
You could just like post it in the Discord.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
post a screenshot in the Discord for you guys. So if you want to see it, go check out our Discord. It's super duper awesome.
I almost did.
But yeah, well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about while we're still here?
Well, I just want to do a quick plug. So we've decided on our next writing challenge.
Yeah.
Short story writing challenge, which we kind of did a little bit as a group today.
That was so
Not the actual writing, but like the first part
We
of
can
it.
show my items. They're
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
If you want to grab it.
Oh no, they're in the other room.
So
I'm so upset
the
that I forgot my
idea is-
wallet.
Oh no!
Oh, I could have
I
bought
would
some
have gotten
for you.
something.
Ah,
for you.
it's okay.
So the idea is you got to find a local antique shop or thrift store, go inside, find an item that inspires you, and then write a short story based around that item. And that's going to be. I'm going to drop a video on the 15th, which is going to be the start of the challenge, and it'll go for a full month from there.
Yeah.
And this
So
time
start
I
thinking
will
about it.
write. This
Yeah.
time I will write.
Yeah.
So, for example, we have,
This little boy. Here, let me get up close to you guys.
which we're pretty sure has like a cursed soul inside or something.
Yeah, so originally I was like, oh, this looks cool because it looks like a thing from a video game. But, like, it looks like it's like a soul container. It's empty. Well, there's like cork or something inside. But it's like, that's where my mind immediately went, was like, oh, this is a soul vessel for like a cursed soul or an evil soul. And then the other thing, which Camille cursed me with,
Huzzah!
was she found this this angel pin. You guys can see it, and the face is like weirdly melted. And so this is cursed item I now am cursed with, but that's another thing.
If you leave it behind, it will attack
I'm
you.
not gonna leave it behind, I promise.
Yeah. And as another side note, so not going along with the writing challenge.
Yeah.
But we have on our channel, we've had what is called writers' roulettes, which are really fun writing exercises and experiments where it's a collaborative storytelling effort where one author will write a page, pass it to another author who writes a page, who then passes it to another author to write a page. However, each author only knows what's written on the previous page and not anything beyond that. And so
And you're not allowed to use the backspace.
Nope.
that's an extra rule that's not fully incorporated into the website that I'm building for it. And so I've mostly built the website. I have not gotten it hosted yet, but that's been what I've been working on for the last 3 months, which is why I've been very quiet on the Discord recently. But the website is coming up soon, and we would love for you guys to participate in it. We'll let you know on the Discord when that is up and running, but we look forward to it. We're going to be doing one tonight after the live stream, and so we
we'll be
invite
testing
you
it.
guys, once it's up and running, to continue on the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have examples of ones we've done in the past on our podcast. So just look up Camille's Harem on wherever you listen to podcasts, and you should be able to find one of our
The fifth
writing roulettes.
champion.
That was the
was
OG.
our, was our
Horribly wrong.
first. That is hilarious. And then the most recent one that we posted is Power Level High.
Yeah,
And
that one was a lot of fun.
That one
was
was
so good.
awesome. That was
That
the
was-
one that we had the most writers for.
And we actually read that one at the last retreat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the last retreat we read that one a year ago.
Yeah.
So they should both be up on our podcast, whether that's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean,
Spotify and Google Play.
Spotify.
It's a birthday.
So yeah, go check it out. It was so much fun, and it's so much fun to have more writers involved. So.
What is that?
That's a big spider.
Get it.
Here, right. And go.
Is it on me still?
Nope, it's off.
This was exciting. Well, we're gonna go now.
That's it.
I love you guys.
It's dead.
Kill it. Kill it.
Oh boy, howdy. Where's the end button? I can't find it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
We're safe for now.